My fiancé cheated with my cousin while I planned our future, so I ended the engagement publicly and took back control of everything. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I truly thought I had found my forever person in my fiancé. Natalie, for the last 3 years, she was my world. I've never been the flashy type. I don't party, I don't waste money. I've always just kept my head down and worked hard. I had a stable job in it, a good savings account, and a plan. My goal was simple: build a future with someone who wanted the same kind of stability and love I was offering. Natalie made me believe she was that someone. She was beautiful, warm, and had this laugh that could calm any room. My family adored her, especially my mom and my cousin Derek. Mom called her the daughter she never had, and Derek, well, he was always around when she was. I thought it was just a family thing. Natalie always acted like she belonged. Sunday dinners, game nights, holidays. She slid into our lives like she'd always been meant to be there. We started planning a modest wedding together. Nothing fancy, just something meaningful. I told her she could handle most of the details if she wanted. I wanted her to feel empowered, to enjoy the process. I trusted her completely. She handled the budget for flowers and the venue, and I took care of our savings, the guest list, booking the honeymoon. But looking back, that's when I first noticed Derek hovering a little too closely, joking with her in the kitchen, offering to help her plan things. She'd laugh and brush it off like it was nothing, and I believed her. I mean, why wouldn't I? You don't expect betrayal when you're building a future. You expect loyalty. But something about the way Derek looked at her, it made me pause longer than I wanted to admit. I started noticing the changes slowly, the kind that sneak up on you before you even realize something is wrong. Natalie used to greet me at the door with a hug. Sometimes a kiss, sometimes just a playful shove when I came home late from work. But over the span of a few weeks, that warmth dimmed. I'd walk in and she'd barely look up from her phone. Her smile felt delayed, like she had to remember she was supposed to give it. One night I asked gently, "Hey, everything okay?" "You've been a little distant," she sighed, rubbing her temples. "I'm just stressed, babe. The wedding planning is a lot, and work is draining me." Her tone wasn't sharp, but there was a wall there, one I couldn't quite see through. She started staying out later than usual, supposedly, running wedding errands or grabbing drinks with coworkers. When I'd ask who she was with, she'd give vague answers like, "Just people," or "You don't know them." It wasn't like her, but I kept rationalizing it. People get stressed. Weddings are chaotic. Maybe I was just reading too much into it. But then, Derek started popping up more often. Randomly, casually, too casually. I'd come home to find him sitting on our couch, claiming he just stopped by to check on things for the family, or he'd offer to drive Natalie to her appointments to take the load off me. He'd smirk in this way that I couldn't explain, like he knew something I did, in single quotes one afternoon. I came home early because a client rescheduled. When I opened the door, I heard rushed whispers in the kitchen. Not laughter. Whispers. The kind you hear when you walk in on a conversation you weren't supposed to hear. A moment later, they stepped out, Natalie with flushed cheeks, Derek with a too-wide smile. "Hey man," he said quickly. "Didn't know you'd be back?" Natalie wouldn't meet my eyes. For the first time in our relationship, something didn't feel right. And the worst part? I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening was only just beginning. Things escalated faster than I expected, but so quietly that I didn't realize how far. I'd been pushed out of my own relationship until it was too late. Natalie took full control of the wedding plans, something I originally encouraged. But now, it felt like she was building a day for herself, not for us. Whenever I tried suggesting anything, even small details, she would smile tightly and say, "I've got this. Just trust me." At first I told myself she was just overwhelmed, but the more I paid attention, the more it felt like I wasn't just excluded, I was being removed. One evening, I asked her if we could go over the budget together. She barely looked up from her laptop. "Can we not do this right now?" She muttered. "You stressing about money is ruining the fun of planning." "I told you, I'll manage it." Her tone wasn't annoyed. It was dismissive, like I was an obstacle, and Derek. He was suddenly everywhere. He'd drop lines like, "Man, weddings are a waste of money, or hope you're ready for ball and chain life." He'd say it jokingly. But there was something behind his eyes, something almost triumphant. Once, when Natalie mentioned she needed help visiting a vendor across town, Derek immediately volunteered, "I'm free." He chimed in before I could even stand up. She smiled at him in a way that made my stomach tighten a quick flicker, but not the kind she used to give me. When they left, my mother patted my shoulder and said, "Let them handle the creative stuff. Natalie and Derek have such good taste." I just stared at her. Natalie and Derek. Why were those two suddenly a pair? Later that week, I tried one more time. "Natalie, do you still want this wedding?" I asked softly. She froze, looked at me like I'd insulted her. "What is that supposed to mean? Are you trying to back out?" "God, you're being ridiculous." Her words stung sharp and immediate. I apologized, even though I shouldn't have. I told myself I was overthinking. That stress makes people act weird. That she loved me. But as she walked away, her phone buzzed. She smiled at the screen. And for the first time, I felt like a stranger at my own wedding, and the feeling wouldn't go away. It happened on a random Tuesday night. I remember that clearly because I was browsing travel blogs, looking for honeymoon ideas. Natalie had left her iPad on the coffee table, face down but still unlocked. I picked it up, thinking maybe she had saved some wedding notes there or Pinterest links. Instead, the iMessage app was still open. Her last conversation wasn't with me. It was with Derek at first. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. Flirty messages. Inside jokes, little winks, and suggestive emojis. I kept scrolling. Messages about how he's too busy planning a fantasy life to see what's real. And our secret nights are all I think about. I felt sick. Then I saw a photo. Her, in the dress, she told me. She was saving for the big night, sprawled. Out on what looked like Derek's couch. Time-stamped. Weeks ago, while I was working. A double shift to help cover the down payment on our wedding venue. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking. I couldn't even process rage yet, just shock. Like something in my brain refused to accept this version of reality. I clicked further into the messages. Now looking for the truth with terrifying clarity. A hotel reservation. A forwarded receipt. Plans to talk after the wedding about how to make their next move. She had used my our money for their affair. And Derek? My cousin? My own blood. Someone who used to crash at my place when he couldn't pay rent. I didn't confront her that night. I closed the iPad. Hid the screenshots. Backed everything up to a private folder. Then I sat in the dark for hours, not crying, not screaming, just empty. I had imagined a future, a home, a family, a marriage, and in one night, it all cracked apart like glass beneath my feet. And I still had to pretend like nothing had happened. After that night, something inside me snapped, but not in the way you'd expect. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. I didn't pack my bags or kick her out. I went cold, calculated, controlled, because if they could lie to my face for over a year, I could lie back long enough to take back what was mine. Every day after work, I smiled like normal, kissed her on the cheek, talked about table arrangements and guest lists like everything was fine, but behind the scenes, I was unraveling every knot we'd tied together. I started with the money. I transferred everything from our joint savings into a private account, one she had no access to. I called the bank and had her removed as an authorized user on my cards. Then, I pulled out of the lease we were about to sign for a condo downtown. Told the realtor there were family issues. I canceled vendor contracts one by one. Quietly, carefully, I kept playing the part of the clueless fiancée, and she God. She was either that confident or that oblivious kept playing the part of the loving. Bride-2-B. She even started getting more affectionate. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe to keep me blind. Derek, meanwhile, was still circling like a fly in a house of rot. He dropped by one day with a smug look and said, "You sure you're ready for this? Marriage is a lot." I looked him in the eye and said, "I'm more ready than you think." No. was the first time I didn't flinch when I saw them together, because I had already started planning. Something of my own, a different kind of ceremony, a reckoning in every smile I gave them now. It wasn't love. It was the silence before the fire. There's betrayal. And then there's the kind of betrayal that makes you question your whole life. I finally broke the silence with someone I trusted, my older sister, Maya. She's always been the voice of reason in our family. The one who somehow sees everything, but waits until you're ready to hear it. I asked her to meet me at our childhood park, away from the house, away from Natalie. I told her everything, showed her the messages, the photos, the hotel receipts. She stared at them for a long time, her face unreadable. And then she said it. I kind of suspected something months ago. What? I saw Derek drop Natalie off once, late at night. I didn't think much of it, but something felt. I didn't want to stir drama if I wasn't sure. My throat tightened. That alone hurt, but I understood it. She was being careful. But then came the real gut dash punch. She leaned in and whispered, "Mom knows." I stared at her like she'd slapped me. What do you mean? Mom knows? She told me a while back that she thought Natalie and Derek had more chemistry than you and Natalie. She laughed about it like a joke, but I don't think it was one. She said Derek deserved someone who could balance him out, and that Natalie had the kind of energy our family needed. I couldn't even speak. My own mother. The woman who had hugged me when I proposed, who called Natalie her future daughter-in-law. She knew, and she said nothing. All at once, it wasn't just about Natalie or Derek, it was my blood, my family, the people I'd trusted most. I walked home in silence that night, staring at my hands like they didn't belong to me. This wasn't a love story gone wrong anymore. It was a conspiracy, wrapped in wedding colors, and I wasn't going to be their fool any longer. The next few days broke. Something in me, not in an explosive, scream into the pillow kind of way. No, it was quieter than that. Like I was slipping under ice, watching everything from beneath the surface. I still went through the motions work, meals, sleep, but inside I was gone. Just absent. I started avoiding mirrors. I couldn't look myself in the eye. How did I miss all of this? How did I let it get this far? I stayed home from work one day and just sat in the living room. The light outside shifted from morning to night while I stared at nothing. Our wedding vision board was still up on the wall, photos of beaches. Little quotes like "Forever starts here" and cutouts of ring styles she once said made her feel seen. I ripped it down, not in rage, just quietly, piece by piece. That night, Natalie came home early and found me sitting in the dark. She walked over, kissed my head, and asked, "Rough day?" I nodded. She curled up beside me on the couch like nothing had happened. Like her betrayal wasn't living rent-free in my head. It's tearing my sanity apart. "I know things have been weird," she whispered, "but I think it's just pre-wedding stress. We're almost there. Just a few more weeks." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the iPad at her feet and yell, "Almost where? To the altar or to his bed?" But I didn't, because the part that truly crushed me, the part that broke me down to nothing, was that a tiny voice inside me still wanted to believe her. I had proof. I had motive. I had the truth. But that voice, that desperate little part of me that loved her, it kept whispering, "What if you're wrong?" And that's when I realized I wasn't just mourning a relationship. I was mourning the version of myself that believed in it. The next morning, I woke up with a kind of numb clarity. The pain was still there, sure, but it wasn't drowning me anymore. It had settled into something colder, sharper, focused. I was done waiting for someone to save me. So I started saving myself. I played the long game, same as they did. Natalie still believed I was clueless. She'd kiss me goodbye in the mornings, send me Pinterest links for table decor, and gush about wedding playlist ideas like we hadn't both been living a lie. I smiled, nodded, acted excited, all while setting every domino in place. I met with a lawyer first quietly. She helped me revoke any co-signatures Natalie might have on future assets. I pulled back all access to my credit, froze joint accounts, and ensured anything in my name stayed in my name. Then I went after the wedding vendors. One by one, I called them under the guise of a family issue and either postponed or canceled services. I blocked Natalie's number from the vendor accounts and set up two-factor authentication so she couldn't reverse anything. The invitations were already sent. People were expecting a celebration. Good. Let them come. I had something else planned. I reached out to a few trusted friends. My sister, of course. A couple of old college buddies who knew how to keep their mouths shut but had a flair for spectacle. I didn't tell them the whole story, just that I needed them on standby for a very specific night. Meanwhile, Derek was getting cocky, still hanging around, still throwing smirks my way like he knew something I didn't. He didn't know anything, not about the screenshots, not about the legal protections, not about the show I was about to put on. And Natalie, she kept planning a wedding, while I planned the end of it. The night of the engagement party. Everything looked perfect on the surface. Twinkling lights wrapped around the backyard pergola. A custom cake with our initials, soft music playing on the speakers. Guests mingled with glasses of wine and fake smiles, snapping photos, laughing, celebrating a love story that no longer existed. Natalie was glowing. She wore this pale, champagne-colored dress, the one she said made her feel like his and hers at the same time. Derek was there too, of course. Smirking in the corner, sipping bourbon like he owned the room. My mother doted on them, both laughing at Derek's stories, calling Natalie her future daughter, like she hadn't chosen a side months ago. I waited until just after the speeches. Natalie clinked her glass, thanking everyone for coming. She talked about fate, about finding the one person you can build a life with. I almost laughed when she finished. I stepped up. Clear, steady hands. Steady voice. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, I began. And since we're all here to celebrate love, honesty, and commitment, I thought it was the perfect time to share something personal. I turned toward the projector my friend had set up. Everyone thought it was for a cute photo montage, but instead, I played ASLID-ESHOW.texts, screenshots, photos, hotel receipts, messages, between Natalie and Derek.flirty, explicit, undeniable, gasps echoed. Someone dropped their glass. My aunt actually screamed. Natalie lunged toward me. What are you doing? Turn that off. I stepped back. It's off now. But it was never off between you two, was it? Derek froze, eyes wide. This isn't what it looks like, save it, I cut in. You can explain it to the family. I'm done. I pulled the ring from my pocket, walked over to the cake, and dropped it right on top. Enjoy the party, I said quietly, and I walked out. Not angry, not broken, just finally free. The silence after I walked out was louder than anything I'd ever heard. By the time I got home, my phone was already blowing up, texts, missed calls, voicemails stacked one after the other like a digital avalanche of chaos. Natalie tried everything. Please, can we talk? You humiliated me. It wasn't serious with Derek. It was a mistake. A mistake. They planned hotel meets, shared private jokes about me, built something behind my back while I built our life. That wasn't a mistake. That was a choice. Repeated, deliberate, cruel. Derek's messages were even worse. You didn't have to ruin my life, and you took it too far. We were family. The same family who used my trust like a doormat. The next morning, I got a call from my mom. I didn't pick up at first, but the fifth time she called, I answered. Her voice was shaky, desperate. You've made a huge mess, she said. This could have been handled privately. I held the phone to my ear in silence, then finally replied, it was handled privately for over a year, just not by me. She tried to guilt me. Said I was tearing the family apart over one bad decision. I didn't even argue. I just said you picked your golden boy. Live with it. I went full no contact after that. Blocked Natalie. Blocked Derek. Moved out of the apartment. Closed every chapter we shared. Friends who chose sides gone. Family who minimized it gone. People expected me to be a wreck. to spiral. But I didn't. Because you don't mourn snakes when they finally slither out of your life. You celebrate the silence they leave behind. The wedding was off. The mask was off. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't pretending anymore. In the weeks that followed, my life felt like a hollowed-out version of what it used to be. There was no wedding to plan. No late-night talks. No shared future to build. Just silence and space. And strangely, peace. At first, I didn't know what to do with that emptiness. I'd wake up and instinctively reach for my phone to check in with Natalie, only to remember the apartment felt too quiet. My routine felt too pointless. But slowly, I started filling in the gaps. I threw myself into therapy. At first, it felt awkward sitting in a chair telling someone how I got played by the two people I trusted most. But the more I talked, the more the guilt lifted. I realized I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. I was loyal. And they mistook that for blindness. I reconnected with parts of myself I'd abandoned. Picked up my guitar again. Started going to the gym. Even started mentoring a few younger guys at work who were going through breakups or divorces. Not because I had it all figured out, but because I understood now how betrayal cracks something deeper than trust. It hits your sense of self. My sister Maya helped me house hunt. We found a small 2-bedroom place on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I bought it in my name, decorated it with things I actually liked. No more beige walls or farmhouse signs Natalie insisted on. Just clean space. Honest space. The day I hung the last picture frame, I stood in the living room and whispered, "You made it." I wasn't in love. I wasn't seeking revenge. I wasn't waiting for closure. I had it already right here. In the quiet. In the stillness. In the freedom to be me again. And for the first time in years, I realized that was enough. Exactly 1 year to the day after I exposed them, an envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Just a cream-colored card inside with gold cursive lettering. A. Wedding invitation. Natalie and Derek. I stood there in my kitchen, holding that card like it was radioactive. For a second I laughed, sharp and bitter. Then I saw the handwritten note tucked inside. I know you probably hate me, but I've changed. I hope you'll come for closure. Even if you don't, I wanted to thank you. You walking away gave me clarity. I'm sorry for everything, closure. They wanted closure after detonating my life and dancing in the ashes. I dropped the card on the counter and stared at it like it might open a portal to another timeline. One where things didn't go so wrong. One where love meant something real. But that's not this world. And I didn't need an invitation to prove how far I'd come. Instead of responding, I made a donation to a local women's shelter in Natalie and Derek's name. The donation confirmation email said, "Thank you for helping others find safe new beginnings." That felt more meaningful than any RSVP ever could. The day of their wedding, I went for a run. The venue wasn't far from my route. I jogged past it slowly, watching the cars, the floral arrangements, the guests in pastel dresses and cheap suits. I didn't stop. I didn't need to. I didn't even feel anger. Just this odd, full sense of relief. Like I had dodged a bullet carved out of my own bloodline. They got each other. I got my freedom. And honestly, that felt like the real happy ending. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't rage. It's rebuilding. It's peace. It's knowing you survived the fire, walked out stronger.